the stream. There we go.
Ah,
Hello,
yay.
everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You can see I'm here with my very good dear friend Shima, who I'm going to tell you about in a minute. But we are going to be talking about how to attract light in a dark world. Some of you have already written to me about the spiritual warfare that seems to be going on. So today we're really going to be talking about how to stand in your own personal truth, how to stand in your power, kind of spiritual mastery, and knowing the truth of who you are and really holding the light no matter how dark the world seems to be getting. So I'm Joan of Angels. I am your guide to the miraculous. I share tools of how to increase your health, wealth, and happiness and your well-being, and finding out who you are and why you are here. You can get my free ebook, which will tell you all about it at joanofangels.com. But meanwhile, if you're new to my channel or a regular, I'm really happy you're part of the tribe. Please, you know this, subscribe, like, and share so more people can get these messages out for us. So I'm about to introduce my beautiful friend Shima Moore. We actually have the same hair color, just so you know. And
A little different.
she is the co-founder of the Los Angeles Conscious Life Expo, which is one of the largest conscious expos in the world. And she lives in Mount Shasta, where she uses her unique 5D star portal, which includes astrology, moon phases, Stargate meditations, Paneurhythmy, sacred dance. She'll tell you about it, which is a blend of tools used since time immemorial to advise, assist, and guide humanity using modern astrological insights, meditations, and movements. It's quite profound. And she has been using this period of quarantine to really collate decades of writings and journals. This woman is brilliant and is going to be giving us a very special offering. And Tina's going to post where you can find her on both Facebook and on her website. So I'm just so happy to bring in from around the world, sitting here in my living room,
Yay!
the one and only Shima Moore, whose name, what does your name mean?
Shima is Hopi for love. And I was ordained Shima on Mount Shasta in 2020. I had never heard the name before. It was sung to me by a group of people, gentle brothers and sisters out of the 70s, out of San Francisco in the 70s. And they did a lot of hands-on healing, and they were having a reunion in 2000 up on Mount Shasta on Panther Meadows. Ironically, I ended up moving there 14 years later.
Wow.
18 years later.
And so your name means more love.
And then I married Moore. So I became Love, Shima, Moore love, Shima Moore.
Okay, guys. So I'm bringing one of my closest friends on the planet right to you. And she's a renowned astrologer. She's just known for many things. She's had her own magazine. But the thing I love about Shima and why I brought her on is she's been in this consciousness, vibrational raising movement since the beginning of time.
Right? I think that's true.
Actually, probably in many lifetimes, because Shima and I actually sitting here all week, we've been kind of downloading and remembering certain times that we've done this work before. But in talking about it, Shima's been doing consciousness teachings and training for many years, right?
Yeah, I think that's the wonderful thing about all the cycles we've had on the planet, to be able to really look at one's life. And, we all think, oh, well, when I get here, or I wish I could be like this one or that one. But actually, if you look at your own life and you see where you've come from one place, well, for me, say 20 years ago, 21 years ago, when I was ordained Shima.
I love it. So, we have some wonderful people. I'm so happy to see you all. Keep telling us where you're from. Tina loves posting it. She posts all your comments because it just gives us that feeling we have a live, hot audience, because Shima and I have been used to presenting for years in front of live audiences. So Shima, when we talk about raising vibrations, okay, and we talk about today's times, how do you see yourself, like the teachings that you do, like what would you share with us about like your perceptions about that now?
Well, I have been, I was ordained, I was introduced to meditation many, many decades ago. And I used to, I mean, really, 1971. Shh, don't tell anybody. And, but I mean, that's the thing about having had all these cycles in our life. And I've always wondered how people make it through since way back then. So, as tough as and strange as things are now, um, even back then, I used to wonder, how do people, at the time, I used to go into people's homes, and if they didn't have a picture of my guru, I would think, oh my God, how do they live without Miraji?
Oh my
Or,
God.
so I have been into meditation since 1971. And through the years, and there are some people who that's where they went, that's where they stayed. For me, I've always been a seeker, so I kept seeking. And I actually started astrology back around then. And astrology has been so helpful because it shows the cycles that all of us are going through. Because there's these big cycles that we're all going through, and then we have our more personal cycles that we go through. But each one of these things are so important to tap into.
So that's very, very interesting. There's two things you're making me think of. Number one, the cycles, like what cycle are we really in? And then number two, I keep hearing in the back of my head a comment that you and Robert Quicksilver, these are the 2 co-founders of Conscious Life Expo. And last time I was there, they were celebrating, I think, their 18-year anniversary of the Expo, and celebrating that back 18 years ago, everything that they were talking about, conscious life, was radical. It was considered new age, new thought, radical, and conspiracy theory. Like everything you taught about was sort of considered conspiracy, even in the food, the GMOs, and you have to look at everything, the chemtrails, the ETs, every subject that was at Conscious Life Expo years ago was considered controversial. Just healthcare, how to build your immune system. But I remember feeling I was in the most advanced place. Like you were 18 years ahead of your time.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because before I've been going to the Expo since the 80s, maybe even the 70s. I don't really remember, but I think in the 80s I started going to the Expo. And then in the 90s I had a magazine, Perceptions. It was government, health, and metaphysics. And people used to say, well, that's strange bedfellows, right? And I'd say, no, really, it all has to do with freedom. Because if you don't have your freedom, then you can't choose what vitamins, minerals, supplementation you want to do. You can't choose what your belief system, because you have to believe a particular way. And I happened to be with a group of people who I was the editor in chief. And so I brought it through in as balanced a way as I can. And that's what I still do, because that's who I am. And that happens to tie into my Libra moon Neptune. And guess what? She's got the same thing. Moon Neptune in Libra. And what does that mean? Well, moon is your tribe. And Libra is balance, harmony, beauty, all of those types of things. So Joan and I are kind of, we know we've been together in past lives. That's definitely for sure. But all of the things that we're into, no, we have difference of opinions on a lot of things. And that's the beauty of true friendship, and what I'd love to see people get to more today, to really get to for two people with two different opposing views on controversial subjects. Vaccines, controversial. Can we talk about it? Can we have a conversation without pointing and name calling and labeling and all these things?
That's right. You've written a great article about it too, trying to bring both sides together so they can even have a conversation. But you can't say that word too often on a video these days.
What's that?
The word you just used.
Oh, so sorry.
Because see, so even that is indicative of the times today.
Yes.
So right. So what kind like astrologically, I know I've heard rumors that these are the same astrological times as it was 200 years ago. The
Even
American
more.
Revolution,
Oh, and there, yeah.
1776, and other periods of time. But can you, and somehow Pluto has all. Can you tell us a little bit about today and our time?
Yes.
It might give us a little insight.
Okay, let's go big picture down to tiny picture.
Okay,
Okay.
good. Oh, I love
big picture. Okay, so we had Conscious Life Expo was just last week, and I hosted a 3-hour and produced actually a 3-hour astrology segment with a few astrologers that I know that come from different perspectives, because I like that different perspective type of thing. And we had one astrologer talking about Pluto. Well, the thing about Pluto, the smallest, the mightiest, the most far out that we know of now. There might be more, but right now this is what we know. And 248 years it takes for Pluto to go around. So a lot of people have heard of Saturn returns if they're at all into astrology, or your birthday is a solar return. Every year you have the sun come around 1 year. This is 248 of those. So none of us are ever going to have none of us are ever going to experience our Pluto return. However, countries can.
Oh.
And the United States, July 4th, 1776,
Wow.
248 years ago. All right. So that is a big thing.
How many years ago? 248.
We're coming up to, yes. It's like, and let me tell you something about these big planets. It's not like today is Sunday, September 26th, and it's going to be gone tomorrow. These are things, it's like moving a ship around, it takes a bit to turn the whole thing around. Well, these are cycles, 248 years. It takes a while. It comes into what's called an orb, a certain distance away, and then it's a direct hit, and then it's a certain distance away while it's leaving. And sometimes it looks like it's going forwards and backwards, which is happening now today, actually. The planet Mercury is what's called stationary. It's it's a standstill in the sky before it goes retrograde. And even people who don't know about astrology these days hear more and more about Mercury retrograde. Oh, don't buy a car. Oh, don't go on a trip. Don't do this. Don't do that. Well, if you can.
Oh my God, we're in Mercury retrograde too.
We are now.
Okay.
This is a Mercury. No, it's not exactly retrograde. It's in the stationary. So in many astrology programs, mine, you don't see it here, but a lot of programs will have Mercury with a little s, meaning it's stationary. So it's stationary today and tomorrow.
And then it goes
And then
retrograde.
on Tuesday, it goes absolutely retrograde. But when a planet goes stationary, and so you hear all these planets about when they go retrograde, they hang out in the same degree. So Mercury usually goes pretty quickly, but when it's a Mercury retrograde, it's at that same degree for a period of time. So it makes sure it's kind of like pushes against you. You're going to get it. It's not kind of, and during a Mercury retrograde, read the fine print, because what happens is we're used to going 3D world, going fast. And Mercury, when things are retrograde, it's a slow down, go inner time.
Right.
Tune into that. So it's not a bad thing. Right. It's just a different energy. And right now, 8 of the planets are going retrograde. So it's an internal time. This is a time to really go inside. I've been saying that since 2020.
Oh, God.
If you don't know how to meditate, find a teacher. You've got one here. Learn how to, and I'm sure that's one of the reasons you've been attracted to Joan of Angels, because this, in this crazy mixed up world, which is what 3D reality is time to learn our purpose. What's our purpose on the planet? Is it to get more toys? Maybe. I don't think so, but maybe, right? I think it's about miracles. I think it's about, and that's the thing. Okay, so the moon is a monthly cycle, right? The sun is a year. Your birthday once a year. The moon is once a month. And I used to have a radio show. Joan has been on it. She had her own radio show at the time, and I noticed that it was the new moon, and I had been making new moon intentions, new moon wishes for years, and I wanted to teach my listeners how to do new moon intentions. And one of the things that I found, I wasn't even really aware of it, to tell you the truth. The following Monday, oh, guess what? Now it was a quarter moon. Now it was, let's see, can you see my hands sometimes? So now it was a quarter moon. Then it was the full moon. It was like opposite the sun. Then it was the last quarter. And we all see it in the sky. So astrology, people think sometimes, oh, I don't believe in it. Well, the moon, it's not about believing. There it is. And one side's dark, one side's light. It just kind of, oh yeah, Cancer, definitely. So you can't deny the moon, and that's like a 29-day cycle. Okay. Then you have Mercury, and then you have Venus, and then you have Mars, and those are all very close to the sun, or close to the Earth. Those are your personal planets. They're like 18 months, 2 years, pretty quickly. But when they go retrograde, they stop in the sky. And right now, I think Mars is also retrograde. Let me just check here quickly.
All meaning that certain cycles are being repetitive and energies are being stirred up. And by the way, while she's looking at her notes, we're going to Mercury retrograde tomorrow. I broke my little toe 3 days ago. And as Shima was talking about, Mercury retrogrades are times to go inward. I was thinking, because I can't walk, okay, so I have to stay still. And the only way you would get me to stay still during a Mercury retrograde, Spirit, is probably to break my toe. But don't do it next time. I'm going to learn, right? But sometimes things happen that are part of this process of Spirit telling you what to do and how to do it at this time. I
totally agree. And I think that that's more often than not, that's what happens.
Right.
You think you want to go left, and for some reason you have a detour and you have to go right. Well, why did that happen? Oftentimes you'll find, wow, that would have never happened if I didn't go right.
So very, very interesting. So I know you were looking up something. Meanwhile, my mind has gone to the next question.
You go to the next. Okay. I was just trying to see if Mars was retrograde. It's not retrograde, but it's like hidden by the sun, and it's in this phase right now where it's in the big picture phase overtone. We're not going to go into that, but it has to do. Mars is connected with Aries, and it's a warrior. But there's a part of Aries that has to do with noble causes. And that's what we want to get back to. It's not the warrior. It's not the war. It's not the competition thing. We want to get back more into the nobility of Aries. And there's a upside and a downside, right? There's a distortion. We call a lot of the things in popular sun sign astrology, sometimes they're presented as the distorted side. And there's beautiful sides to every single one of the signs.
So with the Mars being where it is, and are you saying that it's calling us to be our best self, that fifth dimensional self in this, as we walk in this 3D world, just right?
Yes. Well, this is a wonderful time for that. And that's the thing about astrology. It's about timing. It's about looking at the planets. And I know a lot of people, anyway, a lot of powers that be have not wanted people to really know about astrology because it makes us pretty empowered. We know what's really going on. We know, and we also know when it's going to end. So for instance, with this whole Pluto thing, it's coming in. Whenever a planet is coming into that exact orb, that exact hit that we talked about, that exact return, conjunction, connection, that's when it's really powerful. But sometimes it takes a bit after. And if you look at the structure, things now, it's time. These big planets, they are transpersonal. They're bigger than life. They are teaching us something. They have initiations for us. And they also let us know when they're going to end. So here's the thing. It's not going to get easier. The next couple of months are going to be very challenging. Get your chart. Get your chart. Learn the degrees of your chart, your ascendant, which is what's coming up over the your rising sign, which is coming over the ascendant. It's also called the ascendant at the time of your birth. Very important, very important. Find the time of your birth if you can. Your sun sign and your moon. Those three things. And if you're a woman, you're Venus. If you're a man, you're Mars.
I know you used to offer those free astrology charts if they go to your website. Do you still offer that or not?
I would offer it to your listeners. Okay. I don't, I don't really, I'm really into research with astrology because I get so excited about it. And, so I'm not really promoting readings and stuff, but I'd be happy if your listeners want to send me an email at Shima Divina, Shima Divina, Divina, at gmail.com and put in the subject Joan's Show chart and send me the date, time, and place. All three are very important because you have to tune in to the exact time. Your chart is not like anybody else's. Even if you're a twin, your twin has a different chart than you do.
Well, I really appreciate that. But also, guys, she has a great Facebook group, right? And so in the group, she's a collator of information. So what she does, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you have researched some of the top astrologers on the planet, and the ones that interest you, you start researching them, you post their information, and you're transcribing even some of their talks. So tell us about a little bit more about your page.
Well, I have a page on Facebook called Your Astrology Curator. Your Astrology Curator. And I think if you go online, that it will come up in Facebook. Or you can it's a public site. It's a public page, so we don't have to be friends. But what I do is I take juicy things that I think people would benefit from knowing. And there's so much information out there. Who has time for it all? And some people are more visual, so they like videos. And I happen to have a lot of Gemini communication. I'm really into communicating. And I love writing, and I'm a writer. So I've long taken materials that people speak, and I like to transcribe them. And I can't even tell you I just started doing it, and I love it. And it helps to focus me in when I write. And then I can go back and format it. And it's kind of like the circle, underline, highlight that I do with my books, It just really helps. Yes. Sag, a lot of travel for you, young lady.
Oh, so all they better get rid of all of these things that have been stopping travel.
Oh, yes.
So let's go back to talking about how to handle then these. You see, you made a comment that difficult times are ahead, which we really do appreciate. Most of us are kind of aware that it's about to happen. How do you handle these, knowing that that's happening and it's astrological in nature? Then how do we stay steady and build up this, what did you call that spiritual master, not a warrior, but the spiritual.
The noble cause.
Really, I love
Isn't
that
noble
lovely? Cause. That feels very fifth dimensional to me, by the way.
Yes, it is. And that's why I like
5D.
The 5D reality, because that's what Stargate is, taking us into that reality. And some of the astrology I do is shamanic astrology, which is a bit of a different perspective on things. So I'm sorry, Joan, tell me, what was your question?
I don't remember the question.
All right, but it has to do it. Okay.
You're doing great.
Okay, so here's the thing. Astrology is wonderful, but as I mentioned, I've been into meditation since 1971. So how many years is that? Oh my God, it's like 50 years. All right.
Right.
So here's the thing, if we just look at media, we just read everything that's out there, and we're out here all the time, boy, everything looks really terrible.
Right.
But when you start tuning inside, when you start, maybe a book that I would recommend just pops into my head. Oh God, for agreements.
Oh, the
For
four
agree-
agreements.
And
Mhm.
one of the key things, and there's
Mhm.
four. It's pretty simple. They sound so basic. Don't take things personally. That is a huge one. Huge. Okay. We tend to come into life and often be victims. I was a victim for years. I carried
Right.
around all my stuff, right? But I did a lot of work on myself. So get get some books that are like uplifting, inspiring, people that you relate to. They could be different persons. I have a girlfriend, love her. For years and years, she used to say to me, "Oh, Shima, you do this fasting. Oh, you do this." I could never do that. And she wanted to lose weight desperately. And we both were going to go on a South Beach diet together years ago, and she just never could. Finally, she found something that worked for her. And my God, she looks fabulous. And I'm so excited that she has finally lost this weight that she's been trying to shed for as long as I've known her. So we all
It's the right
have
time.
something to find. Yes, it's totally the time. And what works with you? What makes your heart sing? I'm really into doing things that make my heart sing and taking personal responsibility. It's kind of like we can't blame out there. It doesn't matter who out there is, whether it's, you know, whatever, all of the different, as my magazine was, government, health, and metaphysics. Each one of them has a component. It's about balancing it.
And now they're
So,
all together.
and now they're all
Yeah.
together. And breathing. Okay, so get into your breath. Do you know how to really do yogic breathing? Yes, exactly. We all have different roads. And so, we can be up here, or we can learn to bring breath into our belly and slow the mind down. Okay, we have to do that. So,
Ooh.
have something that you can maybe see, maybe hear. What is like, there's a thing called NLP, natural linguistic programming, and only 5% of what we communicate um, is through language, is through verbal language,
Verbal
right?
language.
The rest
Mhm.
of it is how we move, how our inflections. And I think these days we're all becoming more aware of authenticity, where people are really coming from. Yes, it's very important to ground ourselves. When I do a Stargate meditation years ago, when I started meditating, I would meditate and I would leave my body. And I was like, I can't tell you where I was. It was a little unsettling at the time. I wasn't prepared for it. As much as I had studied Lao Tzu and all of this stuff back in the day, what I love about Stargate meditations are about inviting Gaia to come up into our space, up into our body and ground us before we bring in a Stargate that brings us up to that we invite to bring us up to activate, to bring us up to the 12th dimension, where we can get in touch with our angels and our ascended masters and our star families and all of that. And I look around Joan's home, I have to tell you, and it's just filled with all good juju, all good energy from these wonderful beings that she has touched upon and pulled in. I mean, talk about talent. This gal got it. Let me tell you, really.
That is so sweet, so sweet, so sweet. Yeah, and the angelic beings talk to us. And so when you said that about in the very beginning, you said that you used to get upset if you'd walk into someone's home and they didn't have a photo of your guru. I was sitting here going, well, she says she likes my home. I don't have a photo of your guru here, but I have a lot of beings here.
Yeah.
I want to share quickly that vision I had years ago. One of the things that always prompts me to bring you on my shows is that years ago, I lived in Mexico. I lived in Baja, San Felipe, and Shima was down there a few times. And where I lived, there was absolutely no wind, but up above certain periods of time, I don't know if it was related to the moon or not. I never related, but it would be clusters of days periodically where you'd look up and there'd be 6 or 8 clouds that looked just like a saucer ship over my house and all around, like Baja. They didn't move, stood there all day. So I did this past life, wasn't a past life regression. I did this regression to find out why I was in Baja, having a group Baja Paranormal, and what was my connection to the extraterrestrials. So in 2013 or 14, I did this series of hypnosis, right? And I found out on one of them that I found myself in a ship, one of 6 ships, 6 or 7 little ships connected to the mothership. And my job was, and everyone in my group was sound asleep. And except for me, I was on the platform raising their frequency. And then when I said they said, well, Joan, you're to do this for everyone on the planet. You're not going to leave till they're all done, which kind of made sense at the time. And I said, oh my God, that's like 7 billion people. That's a lot of people if I do this one at a time, because I was sitting there one at a time, tuning up their antenna. And the next moment they sent Shima. So Shima was literally on the ship with me in this hypnotic regression. But I suspect, if you know anything about your memories when you've been on ships, so we were raising vibrational frequency, Shima, which is what you're doing now with your 5D, your paneurhythmia. Paneurhythmy. Okay, I'm getting it. Paneurhythmy, which is, as you were telling me, special dancing, right? That actually takes you into this 5th dimension. Like, what is that about? How does that do that?
Well, this is a dance that in Mount Shasta, I was, invited to the Sunday morning dance outside. I was always into Isadora Duncan. Joan and I think had past life back then as well.
We knew each other then.
And I went, and it was like, the music was pretty music, and I kept going back, and then that was one year. The next year, a woman came, an older woman from Marin, which is where I had moved to Mount Shasta from, and I started really getting what this dance was about. And this dance was brought in by Master Peter Dunov. And he was in Bulgaria in when it was behind the Iron Curtain. We didn't get anything from there. But these days, still at this time, people come from around the world to the Rila Mountains in Bulgaria, where there are 7 it's like gorgeous. And they come and they dance in circles in white, and they have music in the middle, and it's often violin because that really carries, or it can be piano, it can be guitar, it can be just vocal. It's the same music, but the movements are the same, different arrangements of the music, and it acknowledges the heavens, bringing the energy of the heavens down. The right side of the body is truth. The left side of the body into the center is love. And so bringing that in on all levels, like the very first seed of it generally starts at the vernal equinox, which is the first day of spring. And I love how, in my life, many things have not been, some of the things that we've been into have been considered woo-woo. And so if you did like a personal growth seminar, they didn't really like astrology, it was too woo-woo. Or if you did this type of thing, you had a guru, that's a little woo-woo. The thing I love about Peter Dunov and the whole Paneurhythmy is that they bring in the rhythms of the planets, of the earth, all the cycles. They use magic, and it's just like everything. And sunrise is the most powerful time of the day. If you can get up and watch the sunrise in the morning, just allow that energy to come in. But there's beautiful music, and at one of these days and if you look online, you can find it, Paneurhythmy, PANEURHYTHMY. And that has to do, there's eurythmy, which is Rudolf Steiner. They were around the same time, but this is different. And people didn't know about it, as I say, because we didn't know what was going on in Bulgaria back until the mid-90s.
Do you share about it in your group, on your Facebook, in your group page?
Oh,
on Astrology, because you talk about the 5D.
Yes. Well, That's kind of like my latest thing that I'm really bringing in, because I love the astrology. I love sharing that. I love the moon phases, because really all the planets have those same phases of the moon. And once you get those down, you can start to really understand how you're being affected by the different planets, which is very different. And then the Paneurhythmy is taking it all and dancing. And one of the things that I notice, because you're going around the center of a thing of spirit, it's coming in from the heavens, you're bringing up energies from the earth, and it's just so powerful that people, I've seen people walk into class be kind of like grumpy, the world is getting them down. And by the end of class, I tell you, or by the end of, it's not so much, well, I do classes also, but by the end of dancing, 28 movements. And at the end, we do some sounding that brings it all through the body. And it's just really amazing. So I like having a physical thing to include as much, because so much of what we do, I'm at the computer, we're meditating, we're sitting. I like the walking movement aspect of it. And it's for anyone. Anyone can do it. Kids love it as well.
So these are some tools I'm hearing that could help with the next few months.
Yeah,
well, actually with your entire life, but we're talking about the next few months and the next period of time, and moving yourself out of the 3D angst into a different headspace.
Yes, and knowing that.
A different dimension.
Yes. Divisiveness, the two, right? That's called polarity, right? And we have that in the cosmos. When the moon is full, there's a polarity, right? The moon is one place, and the sun is one place, the moon is opposite it. So all the planets go opposite to different things, and how that affects us. We want to kind of like meet in the middle. So how can we meet in the middle with those that maybe we disagree with? That just, John and I had an interesting day yesterday. I lost 200,000 emails
because of me.
Which,
just so you know, we're still friends.
And I'm hoping that some of them, I didn't want all of them, which is why they got removed in the first place. But anyway, was I going to get upset over it? Well, I could go nuts. Really, they were like my 3 most important emails, right? The ones that I said don't touch, and somehow
I didn't literally touch them.
We don't really know what happened, but they're gone. But what are you going to do? Are you going to go nuts about it? Well, I could have.
Some people do.
We would have. You could have. But what does that serve? So, I took a few breaths and thought, well, hopefully they'll show up.
It was meant to be. Well, that was one. But of course, we are going to try to restore them. But it is in the attitude. So with these upcoming times and where we're in now, which have been stressful out in the world there, I'm not denying it at all. But the ways to cope with it, you already gave us a whole bunch of ways. Meditation, have your guru on the wall, or Joan's art on the wall, just a little notice about that.
Art.
Going out in nature and either dancing, maybe looking up Shima's dance, finding out your astrology. It sounds to me like you're recommending that people really also know, like I tell people, know your skills, okay? My intuitive ninja classes, like how do you learn what your skills are and your powers? I imagine, and I know astrology is kind of that same way. It gives you your strengths. So
exactly.
It gives you your strengths, and so it's a strategy, and also almost like an owner's manual in a certain way to managing.
It's interesting you say that, because one of the things I was really looking at doing, and I do offer it, but I haven't really. Well, COVID, you haven't really been out there, and tech stuff I'm not so into, but which is great. Why Joan is here and Tina's back and helping us on the other thing.
Emails.
Okay. Oh yeah, right. I don't think I ever erased them. But anyway, oh, I forgot where I was going with that now.
Well.
Oh well, it'll come back.
It'll come back.
Yeah.
Okay, so how to love more with your gifts,
Oh, I know what it was. Okay. We'll go back to that if we could. But I offered owner manuals for parents, for their kids, or grandparents for their grandkids. Because we all think that what we think that we know what's best for our kids, right? I don't have any children, so just to be like, I've been a teacher for years. I've taught all ages, and people think that they know what's best for the kids, but they don't. And you see kids rebelling all the time. So what if you knew?
Oh,
What
right.
if you knew what they're? I look at my like childhood report, and it's like my parents should have given me drums when I was a kid. They did give me tap dancing. I think that was very helpful. But with Mars in Aries, Venus in Aries, Mercury in Aries, I needed, so what I would do instead was hold my breath and pass out. And they had no idea what to do with that. My Aries would get up and I would just kind of leave the planet because I couldn't deal with anybody.
Interesting.
But if you know how to deal with your kids, you can kind of like really do the one thing that most parents want to do, which is support their kids to be all that they can be. And in your own life, there's a personal identity, relationship access. There's livelihood and foundations of life. And those are like the four most important areas of the chart. But then each one of the 12 segments of the pie, if you look at a chart, it looks like a pie. And each one of those areas means something. And it's like so fascinating. It's a lifelong journey.
So it's an owner's manual, which is really interesting because I used to ask for an owner's manual to save me years ago. It's like, oh, if only I had an owner's manual, I would know what to do. And then I've created owner's manuals too, to stepping into miracles, because you need an owner's manual these days to understand what you're doing. All right. Any last minute things you want to share with us?
Oh my goodness gracious. So time does march on, doesn't it?
It does.
More
it flies,
and more these days. More and more. Mm-hmm. So yes, definitely get your chart and learn a little bit about it. Because here's the thing. I would say get a reading. But most people that I've run into who have had readings, oh yes, I had a reading. Oh yes, somebody did my chart, but they have no idea what any of it means. So get your chart and learn some of the symbols. I like to teach. I actually had a class I used to teach on what all the symbols meant, because it's fascinating. It's all fascinating to me. It's fascinating, and get the degree. And if you just do that for your rising sign, your moon sign, and your sun sign, that will give you a lot of information. And little by little, you'll start to identify the others as well. So if you're a Capricorn rising and you have Pluto going over your ascendant, how is life going to be changing? Because here's the thing. All the outer planets, which is anything further than Saturn, which is the furthest out that ancients used to be able to see in the sky, is Saturn, right? So Jupiter, Saturn, they're like the 3D planets. After that, we have Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, and Chiron's in there as well. And those will shake and rattle and roll your life if you're not on purpose, if you're not living the life that you're supposed to be living. It's going to like shake you. Like right now, I have Uranus, which is the planet of unexpected anything, on my sun. And I'm excited about it. Some people might go, oh my God, I don't know what's going to happen. But if you're living your life in harmony with who you are, and I really do believe the older you get, hopefully the wiser you get. Not everybody does, but what is the purpose of your life? That's really important. What is the purpose? Are you part of the light? Each day you grow, each breath you grow. It's not like being there now. It's be here now, definitely. Mm-hmm. But just know that every day you are getting better. Every day life is falling into place for you. Every day, if you're focused on the higher thing of life. We were talking the other day and I said, well, so let's look at that. So is that the life I want? So when we talk about all the things that are going on in the world right now, is that the life I want to think about? Right. So think about what you want to think about. You're in control.
I love that, Shima. And I actually love that you're always reminding me, when I get my own angst about what's going on, it's like, well, the more we focus on what is or what it appears to be, appearances, then the less we're putting out into the universe this cycle that'll bring that worst part back. So start to shift into knowing that yes, there is chaos here. Yes, we're going to go into crazy times. Yes, the whole planet is doing it. Yes, it's an intense cycle. But if we become that spiritual master, right? What was the word you kept using?
Nobility.
Nobility. I don't know why I can't
And
remember.
remember, you chose to be here at
Yes,
this very time.
Yes, you be that noble self. We can all handle this in the fifth dimension and above, and learn how to bring more cohesiveness, okay? Which would be one of the goals. That's why we actually are a united country, and there is hope for unification, and there is hope for understanding, and there is hope even looking at our chart of America to understand that we have a destiny as a nation, and each and every one of you are part of the United States, and the global destiny. Wherever you are, you're part of this destiny of awakening that happens to be happening around the planet, of which Shima and I were on the ship, raising people's vibrational frequencies. And we can all do this together, guys. You know that I talk about Effect tomorrow night, Monday night. I'll be talking about it again on Monday Night Live. So I hope you guys join me on that. It's at 6 p.m., not 7, by the way, just in case you forget that. But yes. So guys, look for Shima. Go to her Facebook page, go to her website. She's amazing at the information she brings. She's a teacher, truly, because she collates for us all these other people. And she has her own wisdom as well. So meanwhile, again, guys, I want to thank you for being with us. Please like, subscribe, and share for Shima and I, so we get our work out in the world and help raise the vibrational frequency. And also, I have a brand new website with a great ebook on how to know what you're here to do, which is part of stepping into that spiritual nobility, is knowing why we're here. So we'll see you on the other side. We'll see you in the fifth dimension. I want to thank you all for being with us. Absolutely. I'm so grateful that some of you are our fans and step into the miraculous with us. So we will see you all next time.